Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Gamer Update. Once again, Jake chose the most exciting weekend to be out of town, so here we are talking about Nickmercs signing to Kick. Jake did put out a video just the other day, yesterday, speculating on whether or not this was happening, as Nick had teased a huge announcement coming the weekend of InFam as well as TwitchCon while Nick was going to be in Vegas. Now it has been announced. As we look at the article from Forbes, we can see that it says that he will primarily stream on Kick, although it is non-exclusive, thanks to a one-year contract worth an estimated of $10 million, according to a source familiar with the deal. This obviously a massive deal for Kick, I would say. No, it's not a $100 million deal like XQC's, but it's just a one-year contract for $10 million, which is non-exclusive. Of course, we've seen that over and over again. These non-exclusive contracts is something that Kick offers that a lot of streamers are valuing, and you have to imagine that they are trying to get some of that audience from Twitch over to Kick. So I expect over the course of this next year, we're going to see Nick going live on Twitch and then ending those streams and immediately going over to Kick to finish streaming. The article continues saying that Nick has earned an estimated $11.5 million over the last year from content and sponsorships with Under Armour UFC and Beats by Dre. In addition to the monthly payouts, Kick has agreed to help fund live events hosted and produced by Nickmercs, as well as prize pools for digital gaming tournaments broadcast on Kick. This is familiar to what we heard with Nick's last deal with Twitch, where they had agreed to host different InFam events and help pay for part of that. So it seems like something that Nick really cares about, and Kick being willing to do so, I think, is really big. This also co-aligns, I would say, with what Kick's goal is, which is getting more gamers on the platform. They have a really strong presence in IRL and just chatting, but not so much on the gaming side. And I think Nick is a great pickup if you want to be known for gaming. People like Nick, Tim the Tatman, Dr. Disrespect are well known as people who play a variety of competitive games. Nick, of course, focusing mostly on Apex Legends as well as previously Call of Duty, but you can see that they play games and they attract gamers to watch that no matter what they're playing. And so I think this is a really great pickup on Kick's end. In the article, he says, "I cannot wait to start streaming on Kick. They're looking for me and the community we built to help define gaming on the platform, and I'm excited to make an immediate impact. Kick stepped up for the InFam, and we're ready to step up for them." Now, speaking of gamers like Dr. Disrespect, this of course means that Nick can finally play. They can finally play again with the squad. We're going to get to see Dr. Disrespect with Nickmercs and even Tim the Tatman, and we saw the responses to this announcement. Dr. just responded with one word, really, just saying yes, and you saw Nick respond to him as well, with Tim the Tatman asking for trios with the three of them. I would say, looking at the responses, most people were congratulating Nick on this, saying this was a big deal, which it's definitely changed from what it used to be, right? The public perception of Kick, I think, is slowly changing more and more, despite people like Aiden Ross being on the platform and making kind of what I would consider a bad name for the streamers on Kick. We get to see people like XQC, like Nickmercs, really making a statement on the platform. And someone like Nick, again, just gaming, I think is going to be a really healthy thing for the platform. Plenty of people, I mean, we can go through the list. You can see Rated, Hitch, Fallout, Cypher PK, Crowder, FaZe Kaylee, FaZe Blaze, Fwiz, Nick A30. The list really goes on in terms of people who were supporting it. We also saw Trainwreck, of course, respond, who is good friends with Nick. That is no surprise here that the signing went through, saying that there was no other way. I'm sure he was a very large advocate for this. Ultimately, I think that this just makes Kick a more serious competitor to Twitch. I mean, it continues to prove itself. It seems like the team is really dedicated to getting these streamers that make sense for them and that are going to make a statement. The question, I mean, there's a lot of questions, to be honest with you, but people are going to be wondering, hey, okay, what does this mean? Did Nick take just a straight up streaming and gaming deal? Is there gambling attached to it? I know people are going to be wondering about that. If we see Nick go into some slots or something like that, then of course things are going to get a little bit heated and crazy. I would say people would criticize that most likely. I would think that Nick would probably deny that part of a deal and take a smaller deal in exchange. And maybe that's the difference, right, between Nick and XQC's deal, and why Nick's deal was so much smaller than XQC's, is because he said, hey, I don't want to gamble. It's all speculation. We don't know, of course. But despite all this, like Slasher is saying here, despite everything, Kick has become a more legitimate competitor to Twitch than Mixer and Microsoft or Facebook ever was. And I would have to agree with that. With this signing, I think they, again, are making a huge statement, but let me know what you guys think.